Welcome back to part 9 of our series. This segment outlines an idea for a new South Carolina Maritime Museum with an opening thought from the 19th century theologian William Shedd. Before getting into details, consider the concept of purpose. Webster's dictionary defines purpose as something set up as an object to be attained. Many organizations have a statement of purpose based on principles. For example, the Declaration of Independence holds that all men are created equal and endowed with natural rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It maintains governments are instituted to secure these rights, offering what amounts to a 12-word purpose. 11 years after the Declaration, the preamble to the United States Constitution outlined an expanded purpose of government. 4 of its provisions are consistent with securing life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the purpose implied in the Declaration. The other 2 are subject to interpretation. The ambiguous nature of these provisions has been the source of confusion, argument, and frustration. They have been used to rationalize all sorts of expanded roles for government. Words are tools. The 52-word preamble offers a lesson in the importance of clearly defining an organization's purpose. Most museums have clear statements of purpose that can be found on their websites. For example, the Gibbs Museum has a 33-word purpose. The South Carolina Aquarium's is 25 words. The Fire Museum in North Charleston has a 23-word purpose, and the country's very first museum has a 16-word statement. Looking further afield, the North Carolina Maritime Museum also has a 16-word statement, and the Imperial War Museum in London, the most famous military museum in the world, takes but 15 words to describe its mission. So what about the Patriots Point Maritime and Naval Museum? A diligent search could turn up no statement of purpose. Researching archives of South Carolina legislation takes one back to the early 70s, and this statement of purpose for the Development Authority. At 204 words, it's 4 times longer than the preamble to the Constitution, which makes it even more difficult to interpret. Breaking it down yields 10 distinct statements of purpose, a few of which relate to the museum. A lack of specificity makes an organization susceptible to wandering. Unfortunately, the Development Authority has a long history of floundering about like a boat adrift on the ocean. Floating around aimlessly will eventually cause an organization to end up in a rocky situation. A built example of this lack of direction and ambiguity can be seen in the layout of the museum itself. Some World War II here, a little Vietnam over here, and some Cold War over here, all separated by large swaths of asphalt. People don't like to walk through parking lots. The lack of cohesion is confusing for visitors and does not adequately convey our state's rich maritime legacy. Moreover, the sheer size of the Yorktown overwhelms more notable U.S. history. The Yorktown's deferred maintenance problems and declining attendance cause otherwise capable leaders to become fixated on problems. Fixation stunts the imagination, causing a loss of situational awareness. Like horses forced to pull a heavy load, fixation can be likened to wearing blinders. Energy is spent in reactive mode trying to solve problems. Problem solving is a good thing, except when it hampers the ability to see the big picture and create opportunity. Removing blinders enables one to see a larger vision for what a successful museum might be. At this point, it's helpful to ask what lessons South Carolina might offer the rest of the country and the world. What is exceptional about our state that no other place in the country can match? In a word, history. No other place in the country can tell the American story like we can. Not Boston, New York, Philadelphia, or Baltimore. Not Norfolk, Savannah, Miami, or New Orleans. Not San Diego, San Francisco, Portland, or Seattle. All have their maritime history, but none can match that of South Carolina. Ours begins in 1521, when, only 29 years after Columbus set foot in the New World, the Spanish sailed to our shores. In 1526, 39 years before the founding of St. Augustine, and 94 years before the Pilgrims arrived in Massachusetts, the Spanish established San Miguel de Guadalupe at the mouth of the Pee River. This was the first European settlement established in continental North America. It was followed by additional settlement attempts by the Spanish, the French, and the Scots near Port Royal. Finally, English settlers arriving on board the Adventure established a permanent foothold in 1670. The museum would cover this early history. It would include the age of pirates and privateers like Stede Bonnet and the notorious Edward Teach, or Blackbeard as he is more commonly known. The arrival of Africans brought to America against their will, from the first major victory of the American Revolution and the first shots of the war between the states. All this would be covered. The importance of boat building and the seafood industry could be emphasized, as well as maritime trade from colonial to modern times. The mission statement of the South Carolina Maritime Museum should be short and direct. Taking language from the state legislation creating the Development Authority, it could be boiled down to these 18 words: to enable an understanding of the importance of South Carolina maritime history to the state, country, and world. The 2,800 feet of dock space available would provide ample room to accommodate visiting ships. The building museum itself needn't be large. The Massachusetts Maritime Museum, designed by South Carolina architect Robert Mills, the North Carolina Maritime Museum, the Maritime Museum of Barcelona, and the Maritime Museum of the Netherlands provide good models. I'm no historian. No, but people like a good story. South Carolina's maritime story is almost 500 years old. Local organizations who recognize this can be engaged to help with a world-class museum, one that will benefit our culture and economy. Thanks for watching. Please tune in to the next segment describing an idea, Museum of Modern Warfare.